Alrighty. Good morning, good morning, good morning, fellas. How are we feeling today? I see a lot of people in chat, a lot of questions that I want to go ahead and kind of just bullet point, fire, address. Today is day 19, if I'm not mistaken, of Johto being out, so a lot of things have been going on. I'm going to go ahead and start shiny hunting. It's going to be a big shiny hunting stream. Probably mostly just shiny hunting and questions and having a fun time talking about what's going on in PokeMMO at the current time. So let's go through these comments and bullet point these questions. Was an Adamant Salamence a troll pick over Jolly? I think going Jolly, it depends on the nature. I'd say you want bold if you're going something like obviously a defensive Salamence with Rocky Helmet with Roost. You probably go Jolly. If you're going Moxie, Adamant is definitely like it's definitely usable, but I would say you definitely want to go Jolly over Adamant when it comes to that Moxie set. What makes PokeMMO so good? Is it better than Temtem? I haven't played Temtem, so I can't really compare them directly. But from my understanding, Temtem actually copied a lot of the mechanics and MMO aspects from PokeMMO because PokeMMO is such a good system. For example, the breeding system, from my understanding, was straight up copied over by Temtem, which is not a bad thing. I'm not shaming them for that. If anything, I'm showing respect because they were smart enough to acknowledge, hey, this system is really good. This is the only system that's ever succeeded in a Pokemon MMO. Let's go ahead and roll with it. Now, I will say, from my understanding, the Temtem population is pretty dwindling, unfortunately. I would love to give Temtem a try, but there's a huge payment barrier to entry. It's like 40 bucks or something of the sort. And then also with a dwindling player base, any MMO with a dwindling player base is just really hard to justify because the economy is going to be hurting. And if an economy dies with an MMO, the game pretty much dies alongside it. What happens if you breed an Eevee what happens if you breed with a male evolution? It depends what you breed that with. If you breed a male Eevee with a female field egg group Pokemon, you're going to get the species of the female field egg group Pokemon. If you breed a male Eevee with a Ditto, it's going to come out as an Eevee. Depends how you breed it. Are there mechanics on top of the base game? Yes, absolutely, of course. There's tons of MMO aspects like housing. There's no housing, but there is like links, shiny charms, donator status, shiny hunting, custom mechanics. PokeMMO is very, very much its own Pokemon game. It's not really comparable to any single generation of Pokemon or even a combination of such. If anything, you would call it like Gen 5 plus Gen 9 combined, but I think it's a lot more than that. Like even like Hordes or Sweet Scent and stuff, you see this is a Gen 6 mechanic that gets over like just not really acknowledged as such. There's so many PokeMMO specific mechanics in the game that make it its own Pokemon game. Pat, what was your world record time for shiny Muck from scratch? Been thinking about resetting alts after 3 hours over and over to chase it, Hopium? Dude, that would be awesome if someone tried to take that. That would be really cool. I think my time was somewhere around 3 hours. You could check it on the video. It should be somewhere around 3 hours and 20 minutes or something of the sort. I think I only hunted for like an hour. Because I got it at 1,005 encounters, doing ×5 hordes to the left of Celadon. So my strategy for that run was to do enough storyline up until Celadon, reach the first ×5 horde location, and then pop off from there. That was a really, really fun challenge, shiny Pokemon from scratch. But yeah, I think that going dry on your first shunt might actually be the best time to go dry. Because then if you go dry on your first hunt, every other hunt afterwards is going to feel a lot better, right? If you go 50k dry on your first hunt, or even like way more, right? Like your next hunts, if you ever go like 40k dry or whatever, it's going to feel like a lot easier. If you start things off with like a 100k hunt, every hunt after is going to be so much easier in comparison. It's going to be super nice. That's a really good question, Manson. I haven't even thought about that. Do you know which Alpha Johto starter you would choose if they dropped them for the 11th anniversary event? All of this talk about Johto Alpha starters, and I literally haven't picked which one I would pick. Wow. Wow. Maybe like my heart leans towards Typhlosion / Cyndaquil. It's obviously my favorite, but like I think it'd be between Cyndaquil and Feraligatr. I don't know what Chikorita's hidden ability is. Flash Fire is like interesting, can be useful for switching in like for eruptions on Typhlosion. And then Feraligatr is definitely the best one. Getting Sheer Force is pretty insane. I'd say Alpha Feraligatr is probably the best pick, but Chikorita would end up being pretty rare because it's definitely the worst and not many will pick it. So if you want to go for money, maybe it's worth to go Chikorita. That's a really tough call. It's crazy how they all have like a fair amount of value. Like Typhlosion is going to be hugely picked because it's obviously a gym rerun mon. Feraligatr is the best one in PvP, so that'll be decently picked. And then Chikorita is probably going to be picked out of speculation because so few people will be picking Chikorita that it'll be worth so much money in the upcoming years. Each single one of them has like solid reason to pick, which is really funny. That's definitely super true, Louis Official. I doubt they'd be as valuable as Kanto starters if they exist because people will expect them so much. Yes, once the first wave of something happens, the second or the next wave is always going to be so much less valuable. I just accidentally teleported. Oh no. But yeah, absolutely. Think about like any holiday or any event item. Like there's a reason why the 2013 vanity items in PokeMMO are worth so much versus like the 2014 and 2015 are still worth a lot, but not nearly as much as like the first wave of vanities, right? Like that first wave is the most because people don't really know what's going to happen. It's like hugely risky to ever, and there's also just less that exist, yada yada. Yeah, so the way that this is actually a good thing to bring up for newer players or for those who don't know, the way that alpha starters work during the anniversary event is once you beat the boss, I think it's like red or something like that. Once you beat the boss, which they might change since there's red in Johto now, hilariously. Once you beat the boss, for the third time I say, in the anniversary event, you'll be awarded with the selection of one alpha starter. That's how it worked last year. It may not be the same this year, but it probably will be. So you get to pick one Johto alpha starter after defeating the boss. Did the owner of Shiny Suicune actually end up selling it? OT sold? I know they were looking for offers. Did they actually go through with it for sure? Do we know what it sold for? That's actually, I'm so curious. I really hope the public knows. That would be so interesting if we actually knows what the Shiny Suicune sold for. Sold for 5 bill. I mean, that sounds about right. Honestly, I think that you could even argue it's overpaid, which, I mean, it's just impossible to evaluate something like that. It's so hard. Is something like that rarer than a secret shiny Shedinja, for example, which secret shiny Shedinja I think is valued at around 2 to 3 bill. I don't know if it's just the Johto hype, but it's like more shiny Suicunes will inevitably come into the game. Obviously, super hyper slowly, but they definitely will come into the game at some point. You know, yeah, I'd love to see screenshots too if possible. That'd be really awesome. Shaman is definitely going to end up being worth more than that. If anyone ever gets a shiny Shaman, that will be worth way more than the Suicune, probably 2 to 3 times as much, which is hilarious to think about. Imagine the person like uses the shiny Suicune as like a barter tool and to like help trade for the shiny Shaman. Once the shiny Shaman is eventually achieved, that would be the true shiny trade. Here it is for those who are wondering, the shiny Suicune sale proof screenshot. Someone say they bought it as two people bought it together. Teresa, the owner of the party hat, which I didn't expect. Me and Teresa bought together for 5 bill. Link Suicune. There it is. Wow. I did not expect. Wow. That's just shocking. Honestly, if you're gonna sell any OT shiny, I kind of respect selling something like this to where you're just set for Pokeyen for life. I mean, more power to them. I'm mostly just shocked that people bought it together as a duo. I know Teresa is someone who like wildly cares about preserving PokeMMO history. That's something that like they really care about, which makes a lot of sense to go for something like this. So more power to them to have the funds, to have the resources, and have the ability to go for something like this in the name of preservation and obviously, I mean, based flexing. I mean, it's super cool. It's a super respectable goal, and I don't know. That's a crazy thing to have happen. The only shiny legendary in PokeMMO has been sold, which is just crazy to see. People also always ask me like how trades like this even happen, since, you know, the max cash limit in PokeMMO is around 2 bill. Usually stuff like this is done via a mix of like items and 6x31 shinies, etc. So like they might have traded something like 2 6x31 shiny Charizards, 1 6x31 Venusaur, like a Blastoise, like a full set, maybe like, you know, some extra shinies, like 1 flaming skull mask blue, and then plus like 2 bill cash or something. Like it's usually a mixture of a ton of values of just very expensive things. This level of wealth is just something different in PokeMMO, you know. Here's 19k encounters though, 1901, almost clean. I've gotten a lot of questions recently, like, oh, pre-Mount Silver, where should I XP train? Pre-Mount Silver, where should I payday pickup? Pre-Mount Silver, where should I this? And it's honestly like, man, Mount Silver is just so good. Like, if you're pre-Mount Silver, you probably should go XP train in other regions that aren't Johto. You probably should go to like Hoenn, Tentacruel, Battle Frontier spot. If you want to like EV train, like Johto is a great region. There's a lot of benefits to them, but the benefits, a lot of them are at Mount Silver or require Leppas. Johto is very much a end game or later game, late player region, because you have a lot of Leppa locations, a lot of Leppa shunts. You have a lot of really good spots and everything, but post Mount Silver and such, a lot of money making post Mount Silver, a lot of XP post Mount Silver. You've got to do other locations, other regions if you want those things you know, if you're not late game, you just gotta go to other regions, guys. Johto is not the place to be to XP train pre Mount Silver, right? I've gotten this question a fair bit recently, which is kind of funny to me. Pokerus and PokeMMO. The issue with Pokerus and PokeMMO is that since it's an MMO and since like Pokemon are traded so aggressively and so rapidly, every Pokemon would catch Pokerus in the matter of like 2 days. Like it would just be like a static effect that all Pokemon have. Like it would just spread so quickly. Okay, well, it did just become nighttime in game, which means I now have to leave this location. I'll see you later, Miltank. It's awkward that my streaming times always line up like this, where I'm able to do about an hour of Miltank shunting and then I gotta peace out. Okay, we can go to Larvitar or Dratini. What does chat think today? I think I've been doing a lot of Dratini recently, so let's go hit up Larvitar. I really don't know what synchronized to use for Larvitar. I'm probably just gonna make it a Pupitar is the thing. I think that's something something I have to think about. This is a hilarious sentence. I have to think about how I want to build a PvP Pupitar if I were to do so. How would I want that to go? It has Shed Skin ability. Smooth. Can this get D-Dance? I know obviously T-Tar can, but can Pupitar is the question. Dragon Dance, it can. Shed Skin Dragon Dancers, man, I love. This super fun strategy to roll with. I'd probably end up going Eviolite. It'll be similar to Dragonair, where it'll be Eviolite, Dragon Dance. What's its base stats looking like? Not the best, but doable. Do I end up going Adamant, Jolly? I'd probably go Jolly. And just, I think I'd go Jolly on this. I think I'd go Jolly and go for the speed boost. So, yep. We're going to get our Jolly synchronized Pokemon out of here. Dude, guesstimating how many hours it takes to complete a Pokedex is really hard. I would say it's probably less than a Shunt. Less than 30 hours. And I would guess that, let's say on average, the average player has around 250 to 300 Pokedex caught OTs by the time they complete all storylines. Is that fair? You have about half the decks done. I think that's pretty reasonable. I'd say it probably takes you from that point, from 300. I really don't know. Like, I would say like something to 20 hours. That honestly sounds pretty fair. It depends if you have Phenos and stuff too. A huge issue is a lot of it depends on Phenos. The Pokedex is just so uncontained. What's the uncontrollable? It's really, really hard to give a guesstimation on this, but I would guess somewhere between 15 to 30 hours to complete Pokedex, maybe 10 to 30 hours. I'd say less than an average Shunt. Like, obviously it's less than an average Shunt, but it's also like way more active gameplay. Like a Shunt, I can just sit here and like, go through the mindless motions. Actively having to like check the Pokedex and like see, check Phenos, like go to the route, catch one Pokemon, go to the next one, go to the route, catch the Pokemon, like etc. etc. Like, I think that's something definitely worth considering. AFK-ish hunts, or like, mentally AFK hunts are a lot easier for sure than like mentally on hunts, but then the time factor comes into play, yada yada. I super want a shiny Rattata. Should I farm the new times 5 spot or do mixed spots? That's a good question. So with shinies like that, it's a very good question. I think it really depends on how long term of a shiny hunter you want to be and how many other shinies you want that share a spot with shiny Rattata. A good example of this kind of similar situation is I really want a Cute Charm shiny Pokemon that is female nature so that I can Cute Charm 4 male natured Pokemon for shinies. I have 2 shiny Minchinos that are both male, so I'd have to rebreed them. Or no, I'm sorry, reverse the genders. You get the point. I have 2 shiny Minchinos with Cute Charm that are the wrong gender. So I have 2 options. I could breed one of them into the correct gender to have the Cute Charm shiny that I want, or I could wait until I do other shiny hunts like Jigglypuff, that's one that I want to do, and just hope to get the nature that way. So I can eventually save 2 mil Pokeyen in like the long run on the breed or whatever. And it's really just like dependent on how long term of a player you see yourself being. There's not really a wrong answer, but obviously in terms of long-term efficiency, I'd rather wait until I do that Jigglypuff hunt or other hunt to get that Cute Charm shiny lead, because it's not really that important. I have other Cute Charm Pokemon, I just want to have a shiny Cute Charm one, which isn't required, right? Kind of just like a little flex. To answer your Rattata question specifically, I think if there's other hunts you want to do that have rats, so for example, Miltank is split, Ditto's another one, Ditto's a times 5 horde that's split with rat. If you have other hunts you want to do like that, I would go for that. What is your go-to Starbucks order? I hate coffee. I'm a huge fan of, during the winter time, a white hot chocolate with 2 pumps of peppermint. There you go. Pat, where would you place Johto on the list of best regions you made last year? I don't really know yet, and I don't think anybody should really know yet. I think that's like a pretty complicated thing to answer. I think having to like sit down and really think about all the benefits of Johto, which I've obviously been making a lot of content on it, and I've done more than most people. I still don't have a clear answer. I have a guesstimation. It's probably around like the third most important region to do, second or third. But also the order in which you do them is going to end up being really important. So like Johto might end up being like the second most powerful region, but it might be the region you want to do last, because a lot of the power in Johto comes from Mount Silver and comes from the locations there, the XP training, the shiny hunting, the Larvitar, the red fight, etc. So like it's a really complicated question. I think anybody who claims they know for sure, like I'd be a little wary of. I have to like sit down and really think about it, like where it would go on that list. I'd have to sit down and make a positives and negatives chart and see like where I would rank Johto. I would guesstimate around rank 2 or rank 3, but once again, I don't think like, and no one really knows all the stuff surrounding Johto yet. There's so much still to discover and so much still to test and to do. We don't really have payday locations. We don't really have an XP training spot that's super good prior to Mount Silver. There's a lot that's still like untapped and undecided. We don't know how good the Riolu spawn in the Safari Zone is, etc., etc. We have a lot to test, and I have a lot to do. Hopefully, I can get to more of it. If you would egg hunt again, what would you hunt? I'd probably go for shiny Audino, Cherubi, Porygon, and there's one other I can't think of that I'm forgetting. But really, Audino and Cherubi are big ones. Yeah, here should be 20,000 encounters. 20k dry since the last shiny. 20,001 to be exact or specific. There we go. Hopefully, we can prove the believers correct and get a shiny this stream. Do you think it would be a positive change to make red a daily rebattle, but you only get the rewards once a week? I think that would just be confusing. I get where you're coming from. I get the idea, so you could like practice the red fight or whatever. I don't think that's. I think it would just be confusing when your reward is actually ready. And I think it's just, yeah, I think it's a little too. Also, like I think having to use the weekly fight to get your practice in or get your run in is cool. Obviously you can just fail it over and over again until you like, you don't have one fight, whether you win or lose, it's over. You have one fight until you win weekly. So it's an interesting idea. I get where it's coming from, but I think it's not worth implementing personally. This is actually kind of a big announcement, and I probably make a little short clip just showing this off because I really, really care about this video and I really want it to do well, and I think it's very useful to most PokeMMO players. I hope to think so, right? I'm not super proud of every single video I make. I make a lot of videos. Not every single one's a banger. I know that. I get that. But occasionally, I'm super proud of a video. Occasionally, I have my 63, tips in PokeMMO. Occasionally, I have my how to hunt rare shinies in PokeMMO. Those guides where I go super in depth, do a lot of editing, put a lot of care and effort and preparation into. 63 things to do in PokeMMO is officially scheduled for currently September 3rd. So in around 3 or 4 days from when I'm recording this, probably within like a day or two by the time this video goes up. We'll see. It depends. But 63 things to do in PokeMMO. I think this is a really huge issue that a lot of players come into, and there's not really any good solutions for it. So I hope to solve this a little bit better. A lot of players love PokeMMO but don't really know what to do, and the game doesn't do a really good job of guiding you into those goals. And I hope that this video allows players to set their own goals and do a better job of setting their own goals, and it gives people some ideas and just tips and tricks and stuff sort of all over the place. And just there's a lot to do in this game, but you may not always know what to do. And I think it's hard to, how do you make goals without actually knowing what the content is? So I super understand where people are coming from. I compare PokeMMO a lot to games like early alpha or like early beta Minecraft pre the Ender Dragon, because there's not really that end game goal, yet you're in a sandbox sort of world. You have shiny hunts, you have mechanics, you have Pokemon to catch, you have IVs, EVs, all of these like very, very deep mechanics and very deep statistics, but what do you actually do with them? Not everybody always knows. So hopefully this guide will help answer that question and help PokeMMO players set goals. If you don't have goals to play in PokeMMO, I think it's really easy to just get bored and quit. So hopefully that helps solve that. All right, it's about to be daytime in game, so I can head back over to Miltank, grab my Careful Zam out of the PC, and finally head back over. 20,800 encounters. There we go. Another charm ended. No blue cow achieved, unfortunately, but that's okay. Still a really fun day, really fun stream. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like on the video. I'm going to be calling it for today. Dislike if you didn't enjoy your time here. That's totally okay. If your time was enjoyable enough, maybe leave a sub on the channel for daily PokeMMO videos. Follow the Twitch for streams Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. Discord's links down below if you care about that. If you want to go above and beyond and support the channel, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo do go a long way but are never needed. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later, and good shiny luck to all. Peace.
Hey, thank you so much for watching until the very end of the video. Hopefully it was a positive asset on your day in some way. And thank you to everyone's name who's on this list, who is a massive positive asset to my day every single day. I appreciate you all. Thank you for going above and beyond and allowing me to do what I do.